Today I'm discussing the hidden cost of trying to change a woman's mind, so men understand why they burn years arguing about standards that were never negotiable in the first place. You're told that you're not doing enough, so you defend yourself. You explain yourself and even double down on your efforts. And somehow, you're still lazy, inconsiderate, thoughtless, or just plain stupid. But the issue isn't usually the behavior or your level of investment or commitment. It's the meanings attached to those. And meanings are constructed, not objective, which leads to a sunk cost trap. And if you're not careful, that trap can cost you years of your life trying to prove something to someone who will never see it the way that you do.
It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life.
I don't often share personal experiences in my content, but I wanted to share this as an example that many guys can relate to. I dated a woman who, after less than 6 months being together, told me I was lazy in the relationship. This was because for her first birthday together, I bought her a 3mm 14 karat white gold band to wear on her finger as a promise ring of sorts. I actually pulled up that purchase so you can see exactly here what it was. It wasn't a proposal, but more a public sign that she was not available, that we were together. It had to be resized 3 times to suit her, and I handled it. I paid for the resizing. I picked it up. And her ultimate reaction was to tell me that I'm lazy. And it's why I ended the relationship minutes later. I wasn't lazy because I forgot something important or because I refused to invest or to make her feel good, but because I didn't consult her first or anticipate her preference for very thin jewelry. Because I didn't take her shopping so she could choose it herself. In her mind, effort meant anticipation, aesthetic precision, and collaborative gift buying. In my mind, the effort meant public commitment, it meant initiative, financial investment, and even persistence. We were not arguing about jewelry. We were operating from 2 very different definitions of what effort and laziness mean. And here's the moral of that experience. The real issue was not about the ring at all. The issue was how easy it could have been for me to spend the next year trying to change her mind about what laziness is. And that's where sunk cost begins. Sunk cost is the tendency to keep investing in something because you've already invested so much into it, even when the return is not improving. As it relates to relationships, this often shows up quietly and over time. You've already spent 2 years with her. You've already maybe made financial investments and maybe even met her family, and you know all of her friends at this point. So instead of stepping back and evaluating compatibility, you double down on persuasion and investments. You try harder and over-explain more and more. But if her definition of enough is fundamentally different from yours, increased effort does not fix the misalignment. It just deepens the investment, and the deeper the investment, the harder it becomes to exit. And here's why persuasion and trying to change someone's mind rarely works in the first place. Constructivist psychology tells us that people do not experience reality objectively. They interpret it. Meaning is constructed internally by each individual person through values, expectations, past experiences, and even their own personal standards. Maybe just simply the family that they grew up in. When she called me lazy, she was not issuing a universal judgment. She was expressing her constructed meaning of laziness and my behavior. And from her context, I did not meet that standard. From inside my context, I did. For some men, it might be working 60 hours a week to stabilize finances, and she says that you're emotionally unavailable or you don't spend enough time together. Or maybe you plan a weekend trip and she says you didn't put enough effort into it because you missed some specific detail that mattered to her. You think you're showing effort. She thinks you're doing the bare minimum. Both interpretations feel correct to each person, but that's the constructivist problem. So if meaning is constructed internally, then what protects that meaning once it's formed? And for that, we turn to emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning is when a person treats their feelings as proof of reality. If she feels underconsidered, that feeling becomes evidence that you didn't consider her enough. If she feels unseen, that feeling becomes proof that you're inattentive. The emotion validates the conclusion. And this is why arguing or trying to change somebody's mind, again, rarely works. You bring receipts, you explain your intents, and even outline logistics. But you're defending your behavior while she's defending her truth. And when logic loses influence, many men start to invest more and more. That is the pivot point where sunk cost accelerates. The mature move is to not even try to win the argument in the first place. It's audit compatibility, if you would. When somebody calls you lazy, disrespectful, emotionally unavailable, controlling, what they're really doing is revealing their metric and their definition. So the question becomes whether you want to live inside that metric or not. If the answer is yes, then you consciously adjust your expectations and behaviors and continue to invest accordingly. If the answer is no, you do not spend 3 years trying to convert her. You recognize that inside her constructed reality, she is, in fact, correct. And inside yours, you are correct. That's not an issue of morality, but rather one of alignment. Every time you try to change someone's definition of what love, effort, or respect means, you're trying to change their belief system. And that's often extremely difficult to do. While the potential benefit is alignment, the more likely outcome is escalating sunk cost. If the alignment is improving, then yeah, go ahead and continue investment. That makes sense for you. However, if the definition at hand remains rigid and the labels about you persist despite your effort and continuing ongoing efforts, your return on investment is diminishing. So when she says, "You're not doing enough," hear that as, "My definition of enough includes variables that you're not meeting," not as, "You are objectively deficient." And that shift in your mindset reduces defensiveness and increases internal clarity. Then you ask the one question that matters. Are your definitions of effort compatible enough to build something stable? If not, the most rational move is to not persuade or to continue that conversation. The most rational move is removal. Remember that real cost in relationships, especially early on, is rarely the argument itself. It's the years spent trying to rewrite someone else's definitions after you've already invested too much to walk away comfortably. Constructivism explains why definitions differ. Emotional reason explains why persuasion fails. Sunk cost explains why men stay too long trying to fix what is not a misunderstanding, but a misalignment of standards and values. And once you see that clearly, you can stop fighting verdicts and start evaluating alignment. And that shift alone can save you years of agony and frustration. Listen, if you've enjoyed this research side of my videos, I've started posting some of the breakdowns and my other material that don't make it into my YouTube content over on Patreon. There will be a link in the description. Thanks very much for staying to the end. I'll see you all again very soon.